join a conversation with Rosie Von Lila on Clubhouse, where we talked about what's being a good ancestor, or what does it mean to be a good ancestor. And my response was, good and bad is in the eye of the beholder. And really, our ancestors may have had good actions or they may have had bad actions, but either way, we live in the consequences of our ancestors' actions. And so it is our responsibility always to make good decisions for the next 7 generations. I know that is a specific indigenous way of thinking, especially to Lakota people, Dakota people, Lakota people, and Nakota people. They're all the same people. We just speak a different language. So our tribe would actually be called the Ocheti Shakoi, which is the 7 council fires. And Ocheti Shakoi, Shakoi is the word for 7, and Ocheti means a fire outside. We do have different words for a fire inside, ceremonial fire, etc., etc. So being a good ancestor, that indigenous way of thinking, 7 generations. So as a Lakota person, we are taught that every decision we make, affects the next 7 generations. So even though you're out there living your life and you may think that you don't have a push on this world, you do. All of us do. By not being complicit, by not having any actions is still an action. So by not acting is still acting. And they say when you do not act, you choose the side of the oppressor. So for many years, we've had a lot of people throughout the world not really acting on the knowledge that they know. And so indigenous people who are trying to make those decisions, yet we do not have the resources to really, really claim our sovereignty. And now sovereignty, you hear a lot of words going around with sovereignty, what sovereignty is, and really why indigenous people in particular, use that word. But if we break it down, sovereignty really comes from a king, queen, a monarch, and it's not really an indigenous thinking, but because we're speaking the English language, that is the way we describe on how we want to be self-determined. But sovereignty really basically means you can stand on your own without any help, meaning in sovereignty, the power comes from God to one man who's the king, and then trickles down to everybody else. But within indigenous cultures, that power comes from within. And each indigenous man and woman and child has their own will, right? Their own will that comes from God and the Creator. And so we are all sovereign, on sovereign beings, and we all have our own will that is given from God. But we don't want to have the hierarchy of a monarchy. Our indigenous way of thinking is in a circle, and specifically a spiral. The way time goes, it's not a linear time, it's a circle. The circle of the cycles of the seasons. We just had our spring solstice, March 20th, and then we'll have our summer solstice coming up, I believe that is in June. Yeah, June 16th is our next solstice, which will be our next ceremony time. So every time you have those solstice full moons, and which, at one point, the Western world took those special occasions away from us, even took those special occasions away from you, in really practicing and praising those changes in the time. And so I'm just kind of wanting to understand and creating some understanding of why we think for the next 7 generations. Those cycles come and they keep coming, they keep going, and we may think we're just a little bitty pebble in the big lake, in the river maybe, but each action is a reaction, a cause and effect. So truly to understand our religion as women of the white buffalo calf woman who brought us the 7 sacred ceremonies. P'teh Sawin is how you say it. P'teh is the female word for buffalo, and in any situation that we talk about animal relatives, we always use the female term first. And so when we talk about the deer, we'll use the deer. So many know that the word for buffalo is Tatanka,